Let me ask you something. When was the last time you cooked a meal instead of ordering delivery? Not because you couldn't afford the delivery, just because cooking was an option. For a lot of people, that question is harder to answer than it should be, because somewhere along the way, convenience stopped being an occasional luxury and became the default setting for almost every decision. And the problem isn't that convenience is bad. It isn't. The problem is that convenience has a price, a very specific, very consistent price that almost nobody actually calculates. Because each individual convenience purchase feels small, justifiable, even smart. You save time, right? Time is valuable. Everyone says so. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Convenience doesn't just cost money, it costs money repeatedly, on a subscription model, quietly, every single week. And when you add it all up, the delivery fees, the premium memberships, the express shipping, the time-saving apps, the number is almost always bigger than you think.
My name is Jordan. If you've ever justified a purchase by telling yourself it saves time, hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. All right, let's start by defining what convenience spending actually is, because it's broader than most people realize. Convenience spending is any purchase where part of what you're paying for is the removal of effort or time. Food delivery, you're paying for someone else to drive. Express shipping, you're paying to not wait. Premium subscriptions, you're paying to skip steps. Ride apps instead of public transport, you're paying to not navigate. Pre-cut vegetables, single-serve snack packs, grocery delivery, car washes, laundry services, all of it falls into the same category. You're paying a premium over the base cost of the thing itself, specifically because doing it yourself requires time or effort you'd rather not spend. And individually, every single one of these feels completely reasonable, because time is real, effort is real. Paying to avoid both is a legitimate trade. The problem isn't the logic. The problem is the frequency and the invisibility.
Here's a real example. Imagine you order food delivery 3 times a week. Average order value around $18, plus a $5 delivery fee, plus a $3 service charge, plus a tip. That's roughly $30 per delivery. 3 times a week, that's $90. Per month, that's $4,320. And that's just food delivery. That's before the premium streaming tier, the express shipping habit, the ride app instead of the bus. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Most people, if you ask them how much they spend on food delivery per month, would guess somewhere around 100, maybe 150, not 360. The gap between perceived convenience spending and actual convenience spending is almost always massive, because each transaction feels like a one-off decision, not a pattern. And that's the psychology behind it. Convenience purchases are engineered to feel like individual choices. One delivery, one express order, one upgrade. But they're not individual. They're a lifestyle, a default mode your brain has settled into without ever formally deciding to. Let's talk about why this happens, because it's not carelessness, it's psychology.
Your brain has a strong bias toward the path of least resistance. When you're tired, stressed, or time-pressured, which is most of the time, your brain defaults to whichever option requires the least immediate effort. And modern convenience services are built precisely around those moments. They show up exactly when your resistance is lowest. End of a long workday, hungry and tired, the app is right there. 4 taps, and food arrives. Your brain doesn't evaluate that as a $30 decision. It evaluates it as relief. And relief feels worth any price in the moment. But here's what most people don't realize. The cost of convenience isn't just the money. There's a secondary cost that almost nobody calculates. The skill erosion that happens when you consistently outsource things you used to do yourself. The less you cook, the less confident you feel cooking. The less you navigate public transport, the more overwhelming it feels. The less you handle your own tasks, the more dependent you become on services to handle them for you.
which means your tolerance for inconvenience drops, which means convenience spending doesn't stay flat. It grows because the bar for what feels too inconvenient keeps rising. This is the real trap. Not that you spend money on convenience once, but that the threshold for needing it gets lower and lower over time. So what do you actually do about it? Because the answer isn't to eliminate all convenience spending. That's not realistic. And honestly, some convenience purchases are genuinely worth it. The goal is to move from default convenience to deliberate convenience. Here's the framework I use. 3 questions before any convenience purchase. Question 1. Is this a time emergency or a comfort choice? Real-time emergencies exist. Deadlines, appointments, genuinely packed schedules. But most convenience purchases don't happen in genuine emergencies. They happen because cooking feels annoying right now. That's a comfort choice, not an emergency. Knowing which one you're making changes the decision.
Question 2. What is the actual time cost of doing this myself? This sounds obvious, but most people dramatically overestimate how long things take without the convenience option. Cooking a basic meal doesn't take 2 hours. It takes 25 minutes. Riding the bus instead of an app isn't an extra hour. It might be 12 minutes. When you calculate the real time cost instead of the felt time cost, the convenience premium often stops making sense. Question 3. How many times this week am I making this same convenience choice? Because once is a reasonable trade. 3 times is a pattern. 5 times is a lifestyle. And the cost of a lifestyle is very different from the cost of a one-time decision. Now, let me give you the number that actually changed how I thought about this. I went back and calculated every convenience premium I paid in a single month. Not the base cost of things, just the premium. The extra fee over what I would have paid doing it myself or choosing the standard option. Delivery fees, express shipping costs, premium app tiers over free versions, ride apps over transit. The total was $340. Not $340 in convenience purchases. $340 in premiums above the base cost. Money that bought me time I mostly spent on my phone anyway. Invested at 8% annually over 20 years, $340 per month becomes roughly $190,000. Not from a dramatic lifestyle change, just from being deliberate about the convenience premium instead of automatic about it. Here's the reframe that actually stuck with me. Every time you pay the convenience premium without thinking, you're not buying time, you're renting comfort. And comfort rented on a subscription model, paid weekly in small, invisible transactions, is one of the most expensive things most people never think to calculate.
The goal isn't to make life harder. The goal is to make convenience a conscious decision instead of an invisible default. Because when you choose convenience deliberately, you get the same relief. You just stop paying for it on autopilot. So here's your starting point. Look back at last month and find every transaction where part of what you paid for was avoiding effort or time. Add up just the premiums, not the whole purchase, just the extra. The number might surprise you. If this helped, hit subscribe. And I want to know, what's your biggest convenience spending category? Delivery, express shipping, ride apps, or something else entirely? Drop it in the comments.